Hi, everybody. This is Jimmy DeYoung. Welcome to Prophecy Today video. Today on the telecast, we're going to be letting you know about some of the conversations that we had with our broadcast partners this last weekend on our national radio program, a call-in talk program called Prophecy Today Weekend, where we talked about current events in light of biblical prophecy. We need to understand why we need to do that. This week, for example, we talked with Colonel Bob McGinnis in Washington, D.C. about geopolitical activities. David Dolan covering the Middle East for us, much of his life spent in the city of Jerusalem with our Middle East news update, and the possibility for peace is going to be very slim as it relates to this next year or so. That report from David Dolan in the Middle East News Update. Danny DeYoung, he heads up the organization of leaders of the Jewish settlements in the area of Judea and Samaria, going to be speaking at a special conference this week and basically talking about God's promises and the Israeli destiny in the land that he has given the Jewish people. Yaakov Lapin, he is a journalist for the Jerusalem Post, has written an excellent book, Virtual Caliphate, and we got from him a biographical sketch of the new leader of the Al-Qaeda terrorist organization. Attila Tuna was in China, but we were able to get a hold of him and talking about the Turkish elections this last weekend. Attila told us that Tayyip Erdogan, the prime minister of Turkey, has a secret agenda. You don't want to miss listening to that conversation. Ken Timmerman was able to give us an update on the attacks on Christians throughout the Middle East and how that's only going to intensify as the Arabs move out of their Arab Spring into the Arab Summer. And Dr. Rob Congdon with our European Union update brought to our attention that Poland takes over the temporary presidency of the European Union with a desire to put in place a European Union army. All of the conversations that we had with our broadcast partners this last weekend evidence that we are moving quickly towards the time of the rapture of the church. By the way, each of these conversations can be heard at our website, prophecytoday.com, PTRN, Prophecy Today Radio Network. But the question should be, why should we study current events in light of Bible prophecy? First of all, because current events are indeed setting the stage for the prophetic scenario found in God's Word to unfold, to come to pass, for all of that to happen. Also, because of the fact we need to know the future. Why do we need to know the future? Well, today we are making decisions that will affect the future. Therefore, we need to know today what the future holds so that we can make proper decisions today. I had the opportunity of speaking at the Pentagon to a group of generals a couple of years ago, and as I started my conversation with them, I made that exact statement. I said, gentlemen, today you're going to make decisions affecting tomorrow. Today, you had better understand what's going to happen tomorrow. And then we started our study of Bible prophecy. Well, I think studying Bible prophecy, especially in all that's going on around our world today, we need to make certain that we have a grasp, a handle on what God's Word says will happen. That helps us to better understand why these things are happening. How do you determine the future? Well, as I said, you study God's Word. With the study of God's prophetic Word, we can see indeed what He has planned for the future. Do you know that 1/3 of God's Word is Bible prophecy? 1 in every 3 pages. There are 1,188 chapters in the Bible. 398 chapters, 1/3 of all of those chapters are Bible prophecy. 42 books if you add it all together. If you put your thumb on the book of Lamentation and your index finger on the last chapter of Revelation, you'll have 42 books pinched between your 2 fingers. And in fact, you know what that means? 27 New Testament books, 15 Old Testament books. That's how much space. Just try it sometime. See how much space is dedicated in God's Word to Bible prophecy. You need to study. I need to study the prophetic passages and then look at the current events. Now, see, that's the order. Remember, that is key. Study the prophetic passages, God's plan first, and then use that as a spotlight or a microscope on current events that are unfolding. Let me tell you what to do first in your study of Bible prophecy in the days in which we're living. I believe we're living in the last days, and so therefore it's essential that you have this particular personal Bible study. And I would suggest, first of all, go to the book of Revelation. That's a pretty tough book to study through. You have to approach it chronologically. chronologically. That's why I wrote my last book, Revelation, a chronology, so that you could look at the entire book of Revelation chronologically. You can go to our website and see how you can get your own copy of the book. It's called Revelation, a chronology. But let me just give you 3 passages in Revelation that'll help you get a handle on what's happening. In other words, it's going to lay out a roadmap for you to look at the end times. Revelation chapter 4, verse 1 is talking about the rapture of the church. That's the next main event in God's calendar of activities. Jesus shouts, archangel shouts, trump of God sounds, and we leave this earth and go into the heavenlies, just like John in Revelation 4:1 left the earth and went into the throne room. Chapter 4 of the book of Revelation, chapter 5. John is in the throne room in the third heaven. That is depicting the rapture of the church. There'll be 16 chapters that follow that, detailed information about the 7-year tribulation period. And in chapter 19, verse 11, Jesus will mount a white horse. We'll get on white horses with him. That's Revelation chapter 19, verse 14. We come back to the earth. That is his return, his second coming. After that, chapter 20, verses 1 to 6, tell us of a 1,000-year period of time. That's the kingdom period, the millennial kingdom, followed by chapter 20, verse 11, the great white throne judgment. And that's the end of history, the end of time. After that, we move into eternity future. That's Revelation chapters 21 and 22. Again, the rapture in chapter 4, verse 1 of Revelation, chapter 19, 11, the return of the second coming of Christ, and chapter 20, verse 11, the great white throne judgment. Those are the 3 main events in the future, with the 7-year period of time, that's 16 chapters in Revelation 4 to 19, and the 1,000-year kingdom, and that's in Revelation chapter 20, verses 1 to 6. Next, you look at the Jewish state of Israel. And the best way to do that is go to the book of Ezekiel, chapters 33 to 48. Now, we're not giving you a afternoon little fun read. We're giving you the way to approach your study of Bible prophecy. In chapter 37, it's the valley of dry bones. In chapter 34, Jesus says some 18 times, I will find my people where they have been gathered. I will bring them into the land. In Hebrew, the word aliyah means coming into the land of Israel. Now, that's in chapter 37 and chapter 34 of Ezekiel. In chapter 38, we see an alignment of nations that will come against the Jewish state of Israel. Also in chapter 38, verses 8 and 11, it says that the Jewish people will be dwelling safely in that land that God has given them at the time these nations come to attack them and try to annihilate the Jewish state of Israel. So you have Aliyah, the return of the Jews to the land, the alignment of the nations, chapter 38 of Ezekiel, anticipation for peace, and everybody's talking about peace in the Middle East, and then the arrangements for the temple. From chapters 40 to 46, 202 verses, detailed information about the temple that Jesus will build when he comes back in the millennial kingdom. By the way, let me remind you, there's going to be a tribulation temple. That one's ready to be built. It's found in Daniel 9:27, Matthew 24:15, 2 Thessalonians 2:4, and Revelation chapter 11 and verse 1. Now, after you've studied what is going to happen to the Jewish people and how God's going to restore them to the land and restore them to their practices, then you can look at other things. For example, you can look at Europe and the revived Roman Empire, Daniel 7, verses 7 to 24. China, Revelation chapter 16, verse 12. Iraq, or modern-day Babylon, biblical Babylon in modern-day Iraq, Revelation chapter 18. As you study the scriptures, you're going to become very aware of the fact that the stage is set. All the actors are in place. And indeed, the curtain is about to go up on the end-time scenario laid out in God's Word. Remember the approach. Get the roadmap from the book of Revelation. Look at the Jewish people, the state of Israel, Ezekiel chapters 33 to 48, and then the other additional things, the revived Roman Empire, China, Babylon, and Iraq, etc. Indeed, it'll give you the evidence that you need to have that the next event on God's calendar of activities, before all of the prophecies that I've talked about on this time of study of God's Word are fulfilled, the rapture happens. That's the very next thing. When Jesus shouts, archangel shouts, trump of God sounds, we're caught up to be with him. The rapture could happen even today. Having said that, nothing left for me to say, except let's keep looking up until